Thank you, Roshni, for spending your time and for explaining to us about this very interesting new move of changing your brand identity and brand logo. For the benefit of our readers, I just want to go with the word "go" and understand why. Why did you decide to do this right now? Why did Intel decide to do this right now?
So I'd like to peg it at two places, right? Our brand transformation, follows our business transformation, right? It should reflect the business transformation. And I think our brand has transformed over time, from PCs to servers, to looking at unleashing the potential of data. So I think that I would give you two examples. One is that from a business transformation itself, like I said, right? Like we have moved from a PC-centric to a data-centric world with a large amount of focus on new growth segments, new revenue mixes, new markets, following and fueled by data, artificial intelligence, network, and the intelligent edge. So Intel as a company is different from 5 years ago, right? And you've seen those business transformation things happening, and as I articulated it. Secondly, I think, and you asked why now, I think our new brand is also reflective of the commitment to a lot of societal changes. Our corporate responsibility has also evolved during this time, right? We are looking at many critical challenges, especially, the pandemic, climate changes, inequity, digital divide, etc. So we also announced our corporate responsibility goals 2030 in May. So I think it was a beautiful time, to not only talk about our business transformation, as well as our evolved corporate responsibility 30 goals that we talked about, or we announced in May. So a culmination of those two, I think we found this an opportune time to unveil the brand. Now, why now specifically is that we've also had like a very strong innovation to announce. Our Tiger Lake processors integrated with the XE graphics, plus the new Intel Evo brand platform. So we picked a really interesting market moment that talked about a dramatic PC experience that users would get, and we launched our brand to reflect that.
Let's go through the brand identity itself. Do you want to take us through the big changes and maybe a little bit on the thought process behind that? What were you thinking when, for instance, you let go of the form that we were so familiar with? So, the changes and the thought process behind it.
I think that, Noor, you bring in a very important point. The brand has actually kept a lot of its heritage and some of the legacy elements, and I'll talk about it. But at the same time, it's pivoted, to be future forward. So it's a beautiful, I would say, combination, of honoring our past and our heritage, but also knowing that, the business transformation means that we've got to modernize, some of the elements. So, I would go through a few elements. For instance, we've retained the iconic E. I think we've had only 3 brand changes, right? This is the third. Our first brand change actually had the E. It used to be called the drop E. And now we've kept the iconic E, but, it's not dropped anymore. It's in line with the overall font and logo. We have also kept the T from the past, right? So, if you look at the logo, these two have been retained. The simplicity of the font has been retained. What is different is that, yes, as I mentioned, the swirl has gone away. And in a sense, it symbolizes the transformation, right, of the swirl going away, moving to new barriers or to new frontiers. And the most iconic piece, I would say, is the square on top of the I. It's beautiful. It signifies the processor. So when you see the Intel logo come together, the I is, the potential and the performance of the processor. So, the silicon, as you may say. So, when you look at the logo, Noor, it's very simple, but there are a lot of strong design elements that cue a lot of elements, So I talked about the iconic E, I talked about the T, I talked the power of the processor. But more importantly, I think there's also symmetry in the design that, we love, in the sense that the E is in a perfect circle, the N is in a perfect square. So, there is an openness, there's a bit of symmetry, there's a bit of geometry, there's precision, and it's all about, us as a brand and as a technology leader. So, yeah, a little bit on the logo.
Very good. I have to admit over here that I have actually seen the new logo only in terms of its reportage. So I saw that there were several blues that were also taken into it, and I can understand the processor, the square part that you mentioned right now. As you mentioned earlier, the transformation of the brand reflects the transformation of the business. Maybe you'd like to explain to us a little bit more that with this kind of a change, the steps ahead, how do you see something like this actually contribute to, say, business outcomes, to energize your company? What are some of the clear things that you can see in the way forward?
Yeah. So I'll step back. Our aspiration for the new Intel brand is to capture and convey both, the business transformation as well as, like we talked about, the cultural evolution. And I do want to talk about like a very simplified, focused platform proposition. The platform proposition reflects our co-founder, Robert Noyce's saying, which is, don't be encumbered by our past, go out and do something wonderful. So I think this do something wonderful, our brand platform proposition, has always been in Intel's DNA. And I want to give you why it's important, because it does signify, how the brand lives, how the brand acts, how the brand shows up, not only for our customers, but our consumers, our partners, our employees. So I want to break it down because it's such powerful three words. The do is, to inspire action, right? The something is, ambitious ideas, audacious ideas. Are we sparking that human ingenuity, right? And the wonderful is, creating positive impact for the society at large, or for our products, or, with our ecosystem. So every bit of it is very well thought through. And then do something wonderful is not, a campaign. Like I said, it's something in the way we live. It has to work to the brand ambition, right? And it has to work to the corporate values. So I'm going to break it down in a few examples. Do something wonderful translates very beautifully even from the three pieces that we are in service of, products, our people, and our partners, which is your question. One is, our products. We are really proud to have announced, the exponential leap in experience and performance on our Tiger Lake processors recently, and more importantly, the Intel Evo platform. Right, we unveiled a new Intel ID on the back of this, how shall I say, exponential or dramatic PC experiences that we brought to the customer. We didn't do it with the Big Bang campaign because we wanted it to be in service of product innovation. So, I mean, if I had to talk about the do something wonderful, Intel Evo for us signifies something really special, because it has taken tens and thousands of hours, working with our partners, whether it's Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, to co-engineer, co-optimize and verify a whole new PC experience of modern day laptops. So, that's where both product and partnerships and our wonderful Intel people talent comes in. So that's, an example of our latest unveil of, product platforms. Second is, from our people, the pandemic itself, right? We've seen great human spark and great human spirit, and it embodies the do something wonderful, which Intel really follows. Whether it's, an example in India, where there was a single gentleman who started with, 2,000 meals, went on to 20,000 meals, to literally 2 million in the 3 months, single-handedly with a small cohort. Or like an engineer on our side that created, one of the Corona face shields that went on, to be used by another company, or just all the work we've done on with, developing work with CSIR and IIT, for understanding the virus and the diagnostics of the virus behind it. So I would say that these are powerful examples because we live the brand not only outside in our product innovation, but how our employees show up in doing something wonderful. And then the last bit I would say is, how do we show up as a brand day in and day out, right? In a time of crisis, are we a brand, that stands for wonderful? Is it a brand that stands for empathy? And I think some of our partnerships, in our go-to-market motions have also been very, I would say, focused on collaboration. For instance, There has been a program called PC Pathshala, very close to my heart because it's focused on education. And if you look at the logo very closely, it's actually got a girl child with a PC. So it actually brought 15 partners to the table, like all our OEMs, all our retailers, and all and some education providers, and so we brought them together, and we knew that the need of the hour is going to be online learning, navigating through a moment where there's so much uncertainty, both for educators and parents. So we've actually created a platform to advise and to help people, navigate through this point. And the campaign and the website has seen significant number of visits. So we plan to continue that. We've also done something with the Delhi school, with the Delhi government, along with Amazon and Career Launcher, where we've launched something called aspiration.ai, again in the focus in the arena of education, but for government schools. And people can access that material even in a low bandwidth environment. So these are examples, that show up, in our brand proposition, and how, we also ensure that it's something that we live and we act. So yeah, we're very, very excited about the new brand, both on the new logo and ID, the proposition, the fresh set of colors.
Though it is dominantly blue, as we were discussing some time back, but even I love blue. It looks nice. You answered my next question.
It's not. Yeah, it's not predominantly blue. I think, yes, the classic blue, as we call it, will be the foundational blue. But we added something called the energy blue. So, so there is a palette of blues this time. But the interesting piece, notice that we've actually added a palette of colors, so it's reflective of a color that a country wants to use. So it allows cultural nuances. So you will see oranges, you will see, so there's a freshness in the way the palette is presented. There is also the iconic 5-tone abong, as we call it. That's been energized. Yes.
So I have a question here. Now, you're saying that countries have their own flexibility on how they want to project a particular logo, or can you just change it occasion by occasion? As in, will India have this logo, or will it be in this situation, Intel India use this logo in this or color? I'm referring to colors. You have that flexibility?
Yeah. No, so I correct myself. So I think that the predominant palette, of course, will be the classic blue, the energy blue, and there are a palette of different blues that are available to add the energy and, like I said, additional freshness to the color range. There are additional colors in the playbook this time, which you can use. Say, suppose there's a certain accent, like I would just use Japan for instance. If they, I like to add a little more dash of red, because maybe red is uniquely a color that resonates culturally. Those accents can be put in. Now we don't want, but the logo itself, right? Of course, we're going to use it in the form that it's presented. But the use of colors in the background, in the palette, there can be some cultural nuances that can play out.
I think it'll be very interesting then to see that how you're actually able to leverage this. I think we'll come to know over a period of time on how it actually, helps and how it manifests itself in the different situations. My next question you already did touch upon Roshni, which is about the go-to-market part of it. Now that you have this, and you already said that you had some collaborations that you're using as mainstay, but do you want to give us the entire plan? Already Intel, it's I feel sometimes when I look at all the brands, it's a difficult brand to advertise sometimes because it's Intel inside. It's like the Visa. There's always like a mother brand that is using this brand to be able to, and then that's the promoter brand. So I've always thought that it's a little bit tricky when it comes to brands just Intel. But then now you have a new logo, and you may want to also publicize it a bit. So what are some of the things that you have undertaken? Just give us the entire dimension.
Well, the brand, of course, the first visual identity of the brand is our badges, so you will start seeing, the first instances of it on our badge, the refresh badges or the stickers. I mean, the world knows it as stickers, but we call them badges because they're so iconic and they are such a powerful visual identity. So you will see that with our Tiger Lake core processors. You'll see that with Intel Evo badges. Our OEMs, of course, will start using them as part of their products. It's on your left, you'll probably see the sticker coming soon to you. That's one. Of course, we have a lot of plans, both in terms of co-marketing with our partners. There is a lot of effort that goes in, inspiring rather than educating our partners on how the brand can be used. So that's currently in progress. The Intel Evo platform, of course, will have a worldwide campaign that launches, towards the end of the year. And so you will see first instance of that through, our fresh brand being presented, through a campaign that breaks November to December. Then, of course, we gradually transition into, some of our retail visual IDs as more OEMs bring products into the market. So yeah, we're going to focus a lot on the overall GTM. Of course, like I said, inspiring our partners and our OEMs on the use of the brand. About our co-marketing efforts, so definitely you'll see our partners using our brand as long as, within the ethos and the spirit of the brand, within their advertising. I already talked about retail. You'll see that, as we transition towards the end of the year. And of course, you're already seeing the stickers on our devices. So yeah, we've got plans, but we're going to gradually transition into the new brand.
I actually use a Microsoft Surface laptop and they have no stickers. Though it's Intel inside, but it doesn't have a sticker. Yeah, it's just like that matte thing. You mentioned that there is going to be the Intel Evo campaign that will break out later in the year. Will it be a global campaign that will be taken as is in markets? Will you have an India version?
We are a global brand, and I think as long as it can reflect the nuances of global usages. Some of the usages are universal, right? Whether it's productivity, it's gaming, it's creation, it's collaboration. So as long as I think globally and universally we can stand for usages that reflect across the world, I think to me any campaign messaging can be localized to or suited for consumption across the countries. Yeah, we are going to launch it in the US and PRC. But the social assets are ready and any country can use those. So yeah, we probably break that with more availability of products on shelf. So towards the end of the year.
All right, Roshni, you may not like my next question. You can choose whether you want to answer it. Everybody, ever since the pandemic began, has been talking about how marketing budgets were constrained. And I don't know how much this truly applies to technology brands, because we all know that technology really exploded in this time for things that you just mentioned, work from home or study from home, etc., etc. But still, there's a widespread sense that marketing purses are now tighter. And in this scenario, you are presented with go-to-market. So, just give us a sense on, are you dealing with a tighter budget and then trying to work on it? Or did you benefit from the growth that India is seeing in its accelerated digital adoption? And you really didn't have to worry about that part of it as much. And, you're just going on with what you had planned.
So I won't comment on the budgets, of course, but I would say that, marketing has played a very important role. And for me, marketing is never about communication, right? It is about how to use all the brand levers. Like I said, are you in service of the customer? And therefore, how are you showing up? And that's why I gave you those examples, right? Or how are you showing up in the way, in the shop flow, during this time, technology has been a really essential service. How have you made it easy for the customer to use technology during this brand? So for me, we've used multiple levers, to make sure that we're accessible to the customers. We made a lot of contextual go-to-market changes. For instance, I'll give you examples again. For instance, gaming as a usage model grew, right? Some of the things that grew was searches for online learning. Some of the things that grew was gaming at home because people couldn't step out. Or some of the examples that grew was, cloud delivery services, right? So the second piece, say gaming, was, okay, you're at home, you're going to game. So how can you be in service of bettering, say, your gaming mode? So there is a usage model that came to fore, where we brought a few influencers together, and we did like a 5-hour marathon gaming exercise in the evening. And you would be surprised, a lot of millennials, a lot of gamers joined us, and they learned from the best, how to fine tune some of the tips and tricks of gaming was what we previewed during that time. So I think one is, yes, how do you come across as a brand that is empathetic, but also how you can texture to the need that is emerging, or how have products changed. For instance, we did a lot of IoT product changes, Internet of Things product changes during this time, because the need of the hour was, say, contactless tracing, right? So we actually debuted a product which is called Health Sense that could monitor the health of an employee contactlessly. So there has been a lot of marketing innovation, and we've been in service of communicating that, whether it's, product change, whether it's, navigating a concern or uncertainty that people have had, or where you contextual to a new usage model. So yeah, we focused on that during the pandemic. Long answer. But
I loved your answer. I was just about to say that I really do love this answer because you're right. Marketing gets constrained sometimes when people are talking about it, or even when we have to explain it to our readers. But it has such a widespread, and it's become so central to any company's growth right now. So I specifically, definitely loved your answer.